Yes.
So they have to be turned on. If you want to come up here. What will happen? We do not know, now that we can't use the cameras, we do not know if General Brown and everybody else will use the weapon. If they would like a handgun, they'll reach for it.
Okay.
You just turn it and you see the
Okay. Where do I unmute? Where do I unmute? All right. Good. All right. We're good. All right. Okay, they're all here. They're all here. Okay, all the mayors are here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr. Sean Kane, your narrator for today's ceremony. I would like to extend a warm welcome to the women and men of Air Force Materiel Command and our guests joining us today. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the home of Air Force research, development, test, acquisition, and logistics. The command's roots go back to 1917, when the Army Signal Corps created a new airplane engineering department in Dayton at McCook Field. It soon became the engineering division and moved to the newly established Wright Field when the work outgrew McCook Field. In the years between then and now, many of the events that helped shape the best Air Force in the world happened right here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Today, we build on that heritage and history as we salute and bid farewell to General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr., a transformational leader who worked relentlessly to lead this command into the future. His commitment, drive, and knowledge inspired the airmen of AFMC to provide capability to the warfighter at the speed of relevance and secure our nation's ability to project global power. We stand ready to build on those achievements as we welcome our new commander, General Duke Z. Richardson, an airman who brings with him years of experience planning, organizing, equipping, and developing an Air Force ready to meet any challenge anywhere. Our ceremony today honors both General Bunch on his retirement and General Richardson as he assumes command of one of the largest, most diverse, and most influential organizations in the Air Force, providing the material foundation for air, space, and cyber power. Our presiding officer for today's ceremony is the Air Force Chief of Staff, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to begin today's ceremony. There are a number of distinguished and special guests with us today that I am honored to introduce to you. We ask that you please hold your applause until everyone in each group has been introduced. Please welcome General Bunch's family, General Bunch's wife, Caroline, their sons, Arnie and Lewis's wife, Liz, also his sister, Kim Cook, his cousin Scott and his wife, Sarah, and his brother-in-law, Dr. Buddy and June Ann Jones. Also joining us today is General Richardson's family. Please welcome his wife, Dee Dee, their son, Major David Richardson, his wife, Samantha, and their daughter, Mackenzie. Their daughters, Karen Langrock, her husband, Jeffrey, and their sons, Duke and Tate. Janelle Manning and her husband, Captain Judge Manning, and their sons, Judge Jr. and Zane. Sarah Haggerty and her son, Ryan. And also his brother, Chief Master Sergeant Chet Richardson, United States Air Force retired, and his wife, Chief Master Sergeant Mary Richardson, United States Air Force retired. And his sister, Sean, and her husband, Bob Maurer. To all the other extended family who traveled to celebrate this special occasion, welcome to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the Dayton community. We would now like to extend a warm greeting to Mrs. Shireen Brown, General Brown's wife, and the Honorable Frank Kendall III, Secretary of the Air Force. We are privileged to also have in attendance today Corona top leader attendees, as well as AFMC leadership. We're also pleased to have joining us today from our local cities, the Honorable Peter Williams, Mayor of Riverside, Ohio, the Honorable Paul Keller, Mayor of Fairborn, Ohio, and the Honorable Bob Stone, Mayor of Beaver Creek, Ohio. We'd also like to welcome our general officers, senior executives, commanders, and directors and civic leaders able to be here with us today. Thank you all very much for attending. To all other distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, and co-workers who have come to pay special tribute to General Bunch and General Richardson, and those joining us virtually today, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of ruffles and flourishes, the presentation of the colors, and the singing of our national anthem by Staff Sergeant Milan Smart.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reckless, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
AFMC Command Chaplain, Colonel Matthew Franke, will now offer the invocation.
I invite you to join me for a word of prayer. Lord God, we gather today, this morning, to mark a change of command. We will witness the passing of both a guidon and also the responsibilities of leadership. We thank you for General Bunch's leadership here at Materiel Command, the most important command in the Air Force. He has said it many times, and he has served our uniformed and our non-uniformed airmen in this command with honor, with integrity, and with humility. He worked every day to support not only the Materiel Command, but every MAJCOM in the United States Air Force, the United States Space Force, other DoD entities, and our international partners. While accomplishing the mission, he inverted the pyramid. He made it a point that he worked for us each day, ensuring every individual within our command has the ability to maximize their unique talents that our Air Force and our nation so desperately need. And we are all better for it. As he and Caroline prepare to return to civilian life back in Tennessee, we pray that he will look back upon his service here at AFMC and all the places he has served, knowing that they have served together well. And we ask your guidance and your blessing and your wisdom today upon our new commander, General Richardson. His background in acquisitions, research, lifecycle management, technology, logistics, multiple assignments as a program executive officer will all serve him well here at AFMC. And yet there will be new challenges that he will face in this new role of service to our nation and to the 89,000 men and women he's about to lead. Yet he does not do it. Lord, I pray that you would help each of us to serve and support our new commander to the best of our abilities, knowing that in doing so, we are also serving our Air Force, our nation, and ultimately you. In your name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Franke. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce the Chief of Staff, United States Air Force, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr.
Well, good morning. let me begin with a proverb. One who doesn't look ahead remains behind. And as we look ahead, the Air Force will deliver cutting-edge capabilities that are needed so we do not see ourselves behind in the future. And Air Force Materiel Command's acquisition professionals, engineers, sustainers, and innovators are ensuring that we're looking ahead while remaining focused on today. I'm thankful for the professionalism and the capability and the competency of the Airmen of Air Force Materiel Command. Our Air Force can fly, fight, and win air power anytime, anywhere because of you. Today, we pause and honor one outstanding leader and introduce the next. We thank General Arnie Bunch for his unwavering leadership and his many years of service. And we welcome General Duke Richardson as he takes the guide on. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank a few people. First of all, everyone involved with putting this extraordinary event together in this very appropriate venue. Realizing that all this came together really about the middle of last week as we were working through, as many of us that particularly are here in the front row understand how the nomination processes go, recruitments for retirement. But to have the team here at AFMC in the museum to be able to pull all this together, all the action officers behind the scenes, the protocol team, the honor guard, our world-class defenders, our public affairs. And then I'd also highlight just that outstanding rendition of the national anthem, how it resonates in this particular venue. And it's very appropriate that we're here at the Air Force Museum. To our elected officials, civic leaders, general officers, commanders, command chiefs, thank you for joining us today. We're especially honored to have the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Frank Kendall, with us, as well as many of the Air Force senior leaders to witness today's ceremony. Thank you all for being here today. Finally, to the airmen and families of Air Force Materiel Command, both past and present, thank you for all you have done and continue to do for this command, for Air Force, and for the nation. As the 22nd Chief of Staff of the Air Force, know I'm honored to play a small role in this special day. I'd also like to start off by welcome Arnie's family and friends today, especially his bride, Caroline. Congratulations on celebrating 38 years of marriage here just this month. Their sons, Arnie III and Lewis, and their spouses, Megan and Liz, Megan could be here with the two grandchildren, Emmeline and Mackenzie. And then Arnie, I'm sure your parents, Brenda and Arnold, are smiling down, amazed at the person you've become in your numerous accomplishments, especially considering that in high school, you were told you were not going to amount to much because you were too focused on sports. I'd also like to welcome Arnie's sister, Kim, her spouse, Paul, Uncle J.E., and brother-in-law, Buddy, and his spouse, June Ann. I want to tell you, it's a great pleasure to meet all of you last evening at the retirement events for Arnie and Caroline. And we know that your love, your guidance, and your constant support helped forge Arnie into a tremendous airman, into an outstanding general officer who led this command so well. I'd also like to welcome the friends and family of General Richardson. Earlier this morning, I had the honor to spend time with Duke's family, and he has a large contingent here and a few friends as we made him the newest 4-star in our United States Air Force, number 224 in our service's history. Duke's wife, Diddy, who serves in her own right, volunteering hundreds of hours within the communities that they've lived in. Their daughters, Karen, Janelle, and Sarah, and their spouses, Jeff, Judge, and John. John can't be here. He's a second lieutenant going through training. And Duke didn't ask me to call to see if I can get him out of training so he could be here for this particular ceremony. But we're happy that they're all here today, as well as their son, David, and his spouse, Samantha. And David's on his, he's also in the middle of a PCS on his way to Nellis this summer, where David will serve as a weapons school instructor. While your mom, Donna, and your stepfather, Raymond, couldn't be here, I know they're incredibly proud. Also here is his brother and sister-in-law, both retired Chief Master Sergeants, Chet and Mary Richardson, his sister, Sean, and her spouse, Bob, nephew, Staff Sergeant Select Jeffrey Richardson, who's a KC-46 crew chief at McConnell, and his spouse, Savannah, and mother-in-law, Judy. And to close it all out, they got a slew of grandkids. Duke and Dee Dee have 6 grandchildren: Duke, Tate, Judge, Zane, Mackenzie, and Ryan. And number 7's on the way. It's so great to have both families here, and we really thank you all for the tremendous support you provided to both of these fine officers. Let's give them a round of applause. For more than 3 years, General Bunch, with the support of his family and a great team, has brilliantly served to advance Air Force Materiel Command. Arnie, we remember you for your contributions as a leader, a person of honesty, sincerity, and virtue, and a true straight shooter. Your reputation of excellence and how you have made the Air Force better. You built a thriving culture of collaboration and innovation, where airmen of all backgrounds feel empowered to share their diverse views. As the AFMC commander, you were a huge advocate for our Air Force civilian workforce, established diversity, equity, and inclusion accessibility initiatives to meet almost 500 requirements, including the creation of a new equal employment opportunity model. You enabled an environment where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Arnie not only took care of his people, but led AFMC and our Air Force into digital transformation, leveraging 21st digital technology to deliver cutting-edge capabilities in both the Air Force's Sentinel program, Next Generation Air Dominance program, hypersonic weapons, and the B-21. Arnie's focus on both sustainment and modernization have been instrumental in the Air Force maintaining the capabilities required for today while transforming for tomorrow. He served during one of the most exciting and yet challenging times for this command. And through it all, Arnie and the airmen of AFMC were committed to the Air Force and the Air Force the nation needs, accelerating change to deliver capabilities faster and remain ahead of our competition. And those are only a small portion of his accomplishments as AFMC's commanders. With today's ceremony, Arnie completes 38 years of service. Arnie also demonstrated tremendous leadership and drive throughout his career. Arnie is a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy with a degree in civil engineering. I would note that his father was so confident in Arnie's capabilities and abilities to succeed at the USAFA that when Arnie was nominated for and accepted his appointment to the Air Force Academy, Arnie's father took his college savings and bought a bass boat. Barney started as a B-52 pilot. He attended the Air Force Test Pilot School and was later the test center's only triple qualified pilot, qualified in the B-2, the KC-135, and the T-38. As a chief of the test and eval for the B-1 System Program Office, Arnie led the first ever Air Force Y2K flight demo. You remember Y2K was kind of a nothing burger, but he confirmed that the B-1 was safe for operations. He led the F-35 and Global Hawk Block 21st flights, the first firing of an airborne laser, and the first supersonic F-22 JDAM test as the 412th Test Wing Commander. When the Air Force Test Center was established, he was handpicked as its first commander, leading an 18,000 person workforce executing programs, including the F-35, the B-2, and also our foreign military sales mission. Caroline, a school teacher and a huge Tennessee volunteer fan. For those with us last night, we all had a chance to sing the Tennessee fight song, and even some of those that are not fans of Tennessee also chimed in. She has stuck with Arnie since high school, even making an observation when they passed by Edwards, must have been on their trip someplace, very early in their marriage. And she said, and I quote, "We will never live here." Over 38 years, it's been 4 assignments and 12 years at Edwards. Thanks for sticking with Arnie. Arnie and Caroline, your leadership and teamwork throughout your career have been critical to the success of this command and our Air Force. Shireen and I, with along of a slew of other people in the entire Air Force family, are thankful that you served with us and we had a chance to get to know you. As you enter your next chapter of life, we wish you both all the best in your future endeavors. On behalf of the 680,000 total force airmen And I'd also add in the Guardians, as you're the servicing MAGCOM for our Space Force bases and their families. Thank you all for your tremendous leadership. Well done. And today we pass the guide on in this command to General Duke Richardson. There's simply no one more qualified and ready to lead Air Force Materiel Command, following up behind Arnie Bunch. Powering the world's greatest Air Force is a mission we cannot take lightly. This command conducts research, development and test and evaluation, and provides acquisition management services and the logistics support necessary to keep the Air Force weapon systems ready for war. And Duke will ensure we remain ready. Throughout Duke's career, he has demonstrated great vision and leadership. First as an enlisted avionics technician at Williams Air Force Base in Arizona, then as a space electronics engineer at the Air Force Research Laboratory during his first assignment as a commissioned officer. And in every role since, his intelligence and tenacity have been proven time and again. As the commander of the 823rd Aeronautical Systems Group and the vice commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, he was also a program executive officer 5 times, to include presidential and executive airlift. Most recently, as a military deputy, office of the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics. This is where I've come to know Duke and appreciate his expertise. Duke, in every role, led our Air Force and Airmen to remarkable success. I'm excited for you to have this opportunity to pour your immense talent and dedication into leading the professionals of Air Force Materiel Command. Duke and Dee, Shereen and I wish you the best throughout this command tour. And we look forward to watching the Air Force Materiel Command continue to thrive under your steady hand and leadership, so we can fly, fight, and win to provide our nation, our allies, and our partners air power anytime, anywhere. The foundation of the Air Force does happen here at AFMC. Once again, it's an honor to be here with you today and be part of this very special day for the Bunches and the Richardsons and for the men and women of Air Force Materiel Command. Thank you all for your outstanding work you've done and will continue to do for Air Force and for our nation. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you, General Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is my privilege to present to you General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr., the commander of Air Force Materiel Command.
Okay, you need me on script today, so I actually had to write it out. So this is real. This is not fake anymore. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for sharing some of your valuable time with us today. So I'm going to speak twice. You're going to listen to the old Tennessee accent a couple of times. So we will go through the first one here is going to be about this. And it is intentional that I am not talking about my family in this. So anybody, my fellow matchcomers, start making hand gestures that I'm forgetting my wife and try to throw me a bone. I'll talk about them later. I swear I wrote it all down. I'm not going to forget it. I hope. So I want to extend a special welcome to our many distinguished guests. Secretary Kendall, it means a lot, sir, that you're here and a part of this today. Chief Bass, you made fun of me last night for how long I talked. You're getting ready to prove that what you said was I ramble. You're getting ready to prove that's very true. But it means a lot that you are here as well, as you're a great leader for our enlisted force. And you're making a really big difference. For all my fellow MAGCOM commanders and Corona attendees, thanks for coming. I know it was optionally mandatory for some of you, but for the others, I'm really glad you thought there was enough here to come in and pay attention. And I know you're really here to see if I really leave. And Duke, and I actually do depart the fix, so you don't have to listen to me rant at our MAGCOM commander-only meetings. I want to thank all the elected officials, those representing elected officials, and those community and civic leaders here in attendance. We have to partner our Air Force and our installations with those communities to grow both and to create a thriving community. I have been blessed to have great interactions with each of you during this tour. Thank you for your service and your support of our mission and our airmen and their families. I especially want to welcome the Richardson family. Today has already been great with Duke's pin on, but it's going to get even better when he takes the flag. Dee Dee, thank you for your willingness to continue to serve. Today is really about thanks. As Chief said, thank you for everyone who orchestrated this event on short notice and got it all set up. These events don't just happen, so I appreciate everyone's hard work to make it real. Thank you to the Honor Guard, the band, Senior Airman Smart for knocking it out of the park again on the national anthem. What a great way to go. Yep, this is real, and this is going to be the last one of these events that I do while I'm on active duty. Dave Tillotson and the staff here at the museum, and to Chaplain Frankie for the great invocation. My next thank you goes back to General Dave Goldfein and Dr. Heather Wilson, who called me into their office and blessed Caroline and I with this opportunity. We fully expected to retire 3 years ago, but we cherished the opportunity to serve one more time as a command team, and particularly as the commander of Air Force Materiel Command. John Brown and Secretary Kendall, I extend that thanks to you for allowing Caroline and I to continue to serve when you stepped in, and for all of your support while we've served as a command team here. I thank my fellow MAGCOM commanders that I've had the privilege to serve with. The cast of characters has almost completely rolled over. Sorry, Cobra. Turned over, but it's amazing how dedicated each and every one of you is to our airmen, our core values, and our mission. I have learned so much from each of you, past and present, that you have made me a better airman, and I thank you for that. Thank you to our headquarters team, and specifically our two letters. You are outstanding. I came into this position feeling knowledgeable about what the command did because I'd spent most of my career in the command. You taught me so much and politely made me realize that I wasn't near as smart as I thought I was, something Mrs. Bunch does on a regular basis. Your dedicated efforts have made AFMC better and helped the Air and Space Force better understand our mission. We have navigated uncharted waters on a lot of fronts and on a lot of issues over the last 3 years, and I am very comfortable with where we landed and settled on every one of those that we've worked together. You are amazing. Thanks to the Commander's Action Group, Director of Staff Teams, you've diligently worked to ensure we met most of our suspenses, but always with quality products, representing the command in a positive light. You've helped us tell the AFMC story. Special thanks to Lexi, Jason, Lyle, Brian, Curtis, Wendy, and Marina for all that you've done. Thanks to those administrative assistants, aides, and execs who've had to put up with me. I told you when I started that while you were working with me, you will see me at my absolute best, and you will see me at my absolute worst. I know that you have seen the latter. I pray that sometimes you've seen me at my best and you've been able to learn from it. I appreciate you laughing at the nostalgic stories, some told way more than once. It's what geezers like me do at this stage of their life. And in many cases, you have protected me from me. You have allowed me to focus on the mission and what I needed to be doing as the commander and not deal with queep. Thanks, Mel, Kim, Danny, Eric, Mark, John, Kristen, Nick, for what you've done. Lyric, Nikki, Jess, thank you. Enough said. To our center commanders, I could not have asked for a better team of leaders as I took the helm and as I've served these 3 years. There is almost nothing that our Air Force does that airmen serving in your command's fingerprints are not on. I have been honored to serve and privileged to work for you as we have solved a lot of problems and made our Air Force better. So Robert, Sean, Gene, Tom, Pi, Weed, Heather and Augie, thank you very, very much. Trish, Shafe, Chief Cadell, and Chief Flossie. I could not have had a better leadership team at the headquarters level. When my ideas weren't good, you politely and gently gave me sage counsel to guide my direction and keep the command on the right path. When I pushed items that our people didn't want to go do, and there were many that caused me to poll very low in Commander of the Year polls at times, you strongly supported the direction I wanted to go. You saved countless people en route to my office with timely reviews and mentorings, particularly when the latest YG TBSM moment popped up. Some or many of those individuals grumbled, but you knew what I needed and wanted. You took countless tasks off my plate and worked behind the scenes to get things done and allowed me to focus on those things only I could do as the commander. You have been amazing wingman, and I cannot say thank you enough for all of your great support. To the 89,000 plus uniform and non-uniform AFMC airmen, it has been an honor for Caroline and I to serve as the command team and get to work for you. I said day one when I assumed command that AFMC is the most important MAJCOM in the Air Force. That's not out of arrogance. That's not to get at any of my fellow MAJCOM commanders. It's because that everything we do for everybody else. We don't do anything for ourselves. Now we have a new national defense strategy, a renewed focus on an operational pivot to a pacing challenge. We have accelerate, change, or lose. We have Secretary Kendall's operational imperatives. My position has not changed. Our Air Force cannot be successful as we as a MAJCOM are not successful. I also stress that you execute your wartime mission each and every day. When I look at just a few of your many, many accomplishments, negative pressure Connex, F-15EX first flight and test, DEI&A, telework, our digital campaign, housing, COVID response, Defense Procurement Act work, nuclear modernization, remote distributed test operations, S&T 2030 implementation, stand up of a tent city in a week to keep basic training moving forward, female body armor and female fitment, F-35 power module repair, disaster response, stepping into a non-doctrinal role as the servicing MAJCOM for USSF. Your actions are emblematic that you took my message of wartime mission to heart. Your efforts ensure that we can fly, fight, and win. Air power, anytime, anywhere. You are remarkable, and I love each and every one of you. When you leave a position that you've poured your heart and soul into for 3 years trying to make a difference, you hope the Air Force selects the right airman to replace you. I know DD and Duke Richardson are the right team to lead Air Force Materiel Command. You heard the chief talk about their many accomplishments. They have performed remarkably in multiple roles with great achievements and with distinction. More importantly, as we say back home, they're good people. They're good people. Airmen of Air Force Materiel Command, you are getting a great leadership team with DD and Duke. With your support, I know that AFMC will soar to new heights under Duke's leadership and vision. Duke and DD, you are inheriting an unbelievable group of airmen. If you take care of them, I know that they will take care of you and the mission will get done. Caroline and I wish you all the best in this next new exciting adventure that you're going to undertake. God bless the United States of America, the United States Air Force, and God bless Air Force Materiel Command. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Bunch. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is time for the change of command. The change of command ceremony is a celebration of both continuity and change. Continuity in the form of a military tradition whose roots reach back through time to the legions of ancient Rome, to the passing of signets that symbolize the transfer of command from one to another. And change, as this great command says farewell to an honored leader and welcomes his successor through a ceremony that differs only in style, not substance, from those of the Romans. The passing of the colors symbolizes the passing of command and is done in a ceremony so all may witness the changing of leadership responsibilities. General Bunch will relinquish command of Air Force Materiel Command. Then General Richardson will assume command of Air Force Materiel Command from General Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the change of command ceremony.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr. is relieved from duty as Commander, Air Force Materiel Command, effective 13 June 2022, and General Richardson is assigned as Commander, Air Force Materiel Command, effective 13 June 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the 13th Commander of Air Force Materiel Command, General Duke Z. Richardson.
All right, good morning, everybody. How we doing? Sorry, a lot of classes, gymnastics here. Good morning, civilian and military airmen of Air Force Materiel Command, and to those guardians with whom we work hand in hand. I must share, I've been thinking quite a lot about our Air Force, our former AFMC commanders, airmen like General Polakowski and General Wolfenbarger, and now General Bunch. I am humbled to follow these amazing leaders and ready to serve this awesome command. It's hard for me to describe how excited I am about being your commander. My love for this command, its people, its heritage, its mission, even its emblem, is beyond measure. When I enlisted some 39 years ago at the ripe age of 18, I certainly didn't envision today's event even being a possible outcome for me. For this reason, I must start by giving thanks to Secretary Kendall and Chief Brown. Thank you both for your confidence in my leadership and material management abilities to the level of entrusting me with this important posting. With the strength of this 89,000 person team, I promise we will not let you down. To my fellow MAJCOM commanders, thank you for trusting me and the entire AFMC team. Rest easy knowing we are on your wing to support your mission, your airmen, your current capabilities, your future capabilities, and your bases. To my former bosses, peers, and direct reports, thank you for investing time in me and developing me such that I am now ready for this challenge. To our community and industry leaders, thank you for your partnership over the years. We have much to do going forward, and I'm thankful you're on the team. To my mom in heaven, my dad, my brother and sister, thank you for loving me. Toughening me up and setting a strong work ethic and integrity example. To my children, Karen, Janelle, David, Sarah. Words cannot describe the depth of my love for you and my pride in who you've become. Thank you for your unwavering love and encouragement, as well as your interest when I start talking about Air Force stuff. Being your father is, without question, my most significant accomplishment and largest source of joy. To my wife, Dee Dee, thank you for your unconditional love and partnership. You took a chance on me at a very young age. You've been there every day as I've matured, through every job, every degree, every move, every challenge. I would not be on this stage if not for you. Without question, asking you to be my partner in life is by far my best decision ever. This marks the third time I followed General Bunch in a job of importance. I don't know if you thought about that, sir. Sir, you again set a high bar. Let's just say you motivate me to be at my best. What you've done to integrate the work of the centers to develop, deliver, support, and sustain war-winning capabilities ensures we operate per one team, one fight. What you've done to make meaningful strides towards creating an inclusive environment where all civilian and military airmen have the opportunity to achieve their full potential is best in class. What you've done to pivot the command toward digital material management ensures we accelerate change in a way that keeps focus on speed without sacrificing safety and discipline. We will continue that. It is clear this command is way stronger than it was just 3 years ago. Dee Dee and I thank you and wish you and Caroline a long and joy-filled life outside of the uniform. To the men and women of Air Force Materiel Command, I want you to know I have the highest level of respect for you and what you do. You are extreme professionals. Your work ethic and intellect are unsurpassed. Just as the AFMC tagline states, you are one AFMC powering the world's greatest Air Force. And so, with 17 AFMC years and counting behind us, Dee Dee and I are very thankful and ecstatic to rejoin the AFMC formation. Most folks in the Air Force have no idea what's involved in this business in order to do it right, but I do. Indeed, I will be your biggest fan, yet I will also push us to new heights. We will work hard together to ensure the work of our 6 centers, both within each center and across the centers, is integrated and focused on Department of the Air Force enterprise solutions to the max extent. And so I feel compelled to make commitments to you in order to hold myself accountable. I commit to working and living according to our core values. I commit to keeping the warfighter and taxpayer at the forefront. I commit to ensuring our work is tightly aligned to Secretary and Chief priorities. I commit to my personal credo, make every day count, in order to fulfill our AFMC mission. I commit to the ideal that every AFMC teammate deserves an opportunity to achieve their full potential. I commit to focusing on integrated lifecycle management and enterprise solutions. I commit to embracing innovation in all its forms. I commit to securing the resources, dollars, peoples, facilities we need to be successful. I commit to saying we mostly and I only when necessary. And finally, I commit to putting this command and your professional growth ahead of my own needs. In closing, today we start day one together. And Dee Dee and I are excited to serve this outstanding command. I ask you to think about and make these same commitments for the strength of Team AFMC and our Air Force. The threats to our nation and our way of life are real. This is our time to serve our nation to the best of our abilities. Now let's go to work. Thank you.
General Richardson, the women and men of Air Force Materiel Command, and the civic leaders from our surrounding communities welcome you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the retirement portion of today's ceremony as we pay tribute to General Bunch and his family on the occasion of his retirement. A career culminating in 38 years of distinguished service to the United States Air Force and our great nation. General Brown will now present the Distinguished Service Medal to General Bunch. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Distinguished Service Medal, Second Oak Leaf Cluster, to General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress July 9th, 1918, awards the Distinguished Service Medal to General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr. for exceptionally meritorious service in duties of great responsibility. General Bunch distinguished himself as Commander, Air Force Materiel Command, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, from 25 May 2019 to 31 July 2022. During this period, General Bunch guided the transformation of the Air Force Materiel Command and its 89,000 military and civilian airmen as it overcame challenges facing the Department of Defense. Under his direction, the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center spearheaded a $5 billion rebuild of Tyndall Air Force Base and ensured the safety of 25,000 Afghan evacuees in support of Operation Allies Welcome. Additionally, General Bunch drove digital innovation in the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center Sentinel program and the Air Force Lifecycle Management Center's Next Generation Air Dominance programs, both leading the Air Force in the integration of model-based systems engineering. His vision paved the way for the Air Force Test Center's development and testing of hypersonic, and directed energy weapons with a focus on United States pacing threats. General Bunch also ensured the Air Force Sustainment Center increased lethality through cost-effective modernization, reducing periodic depot maintenance flow days on 17 major weapon systems, saving $510 million. His advancement of the Air Force Science and Technology 2030 strategy led to realignment of the Air Force Research Laboratory's $5 billion portfolio. Additionally, General Bunch led and established diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiatives to meet 473 requirements, including creation of a new equal employment opportunity model. His tireless efforts resulted in the command reaching initial operational capability in its support to the United States Space Force, solidifying its role as the first ever servicing major command to care for the 9,000 airmen assigned to the newest branch of service. Finally, General Bunch improved the quality of life for airmen and guardians by directing the execution of a housing improvement plan consisting of 51 initiatives, ensuring military families access to safe housing. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of General Bunch culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect the highest credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as General Brown retires General Bunch. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Washington, D.C., Special Order Number ACG-000009, dated 5 November 2021. Effective 31 July 2022, you are relieved from active duty, Air Force Materiel Command, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, and retired effective 1 August 2022 per AFI 36-3203 in the grade of General by the order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. General Brown will now present the retirement certificate to General Bunch. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr., having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of August 2022. Signed, General Charles Q. Brown, Jr., Chief of Staff. General Bunch also received congratulatory letters from President Joseph Biden and former Presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. He also received congratulatory letters from the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Frank Kendall III, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, as well as several letters of appreciation from local civic leaders. I would like to invite Mrs. Caroline Bunch to the stage for the Air Force Retirement Pin presentation and the recognition of the spouse's certificate. This pin is to be worn with pride. It signifies to everyone that the wearer of this pin has served his country well and honorably. Mrs. Bunch, please remain on stage for a special presentation. In his public comments, the Chief of Staffs often focuses on the extraordinary military spouses of the U.S. Air Force and recognizes them for their incredible personal contributions to the men and women of the command they serve. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as General Brown presents the Air Force Scroll of Appreciation to Mrs. Bunch. Mrs. Caroline Bunch distinguished herself by exceptional service. The scroll reads it to me, Caroline Bunch, Air Force Scroll of Appreciation. Mrs. Caroline Bunch distinguished herself by exceptional service to the United States Air Force from 31 May 2019 to 12 June 2022. During this time, she provided extraordinary support to the Air Force and her nation. As a role model for military and civilian spouses and throughout her husband's career, culminating as the commander, Air Force Materiel Command. Mrs. Bunch provided unwavering stability and support to her family while her husband was required to work demanding hours, support extensive travel, and relocate the family 17 times over the course of his career. At each duty station, Mrs. Bunch was a driving force that provided active and caring mentorship to Air Force spouses at every level. She served as a volunteer for 36 years and has had far-reaching impacts on the local communities through dedicated support to the Red Cross, Officer Spouses Club, and Base Thrift Shop. Mrs. Bunch's leadership and guidance has been felt across the Air Force as she championed the improvement of family services during the Squadron Leader Orientation Spouses Conference, Senior Leader Spouses Conference, and the Commander Spouses Conference. Her input during these events will leave lasting impressions on the lives of the almost 90,000 airmen serving under her husband in Air Force Materiel Command, and even more broadly across the United States Air Force. Mrs. Bunch's contributions are in keeping with the finest traditions of service to our men and women in the armed forces and reflect great credit upon herself, her family, and the United States Air Force. Given this day, 13 June 2022, Major General Christopher Craig, Commander, Air Force Personnel Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. General Brown will now present Mrs. Bunch with the Air Force Certificate of Appreciation. A certificate of appreciation from the United States Air Force. In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Caroline Bunch for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Given this 13th day of June, 2022, signed by General Charles Q. Brown, Jr., Air Force Chief of Staff. Thank you, Mrs. Bunch. You may now be seated. Will the honor guard please come forward for the flag folding ceremony? For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor. White signifies purity and innocence. And blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every American who serves our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on land and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. General Bunch, the flag of the United States of America is the ultimate symbol of freedom, which you have defended. May this flag always remind you of the heights to which you aspired and your personal accomplishments during your dedicated service to the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, General Arnold W. Bunch, Jr., United States Air Force, retired.
So as I've always said in a lot of these ceremonies, this is a long way from the woodworking plant where I thought I was going to end up. And so thanks everybody for being here. Good morning again, Chief. Thank you again for agreeing to preside over my retirement. I know how busy you are and the time it takes to prepare for one of these. So thank you for your kind words and thank you for what you and Secretary Kendall are doing to make a difference in our Air Force. It's greatly appreciated. Shireen, I have welcomed everyone else earlier, and I especially didn't welcome you then because I want to welcome you now. It means a lot to Caroline and I that you're here. You are shining a light on areas and programs impacting airmen and their families. You are making a big difference, and we thank you on behalf of all those airmen and their families for what you're doing and what you're trying to do. So I'll kind of let you know how the morning started at the Bunch House this morning. I said, I'm not really sure how I'm okay with the change of command speech. I'm not really sure how this retirement speech is going to go. And she said, what are they going to do? Make us retire and go to Tennessee? Don't worry about it. Just go up and do it. So with that as a backdrop, I'm going to start with a couple of apologies up front, and then I'm going to go immediately into thanks. The apologies are up front for those that I will not personally mention today for the role you've played in our careers. There are so many people who have touched our lives and guided us along our path that I can't possibly mention all the names. So please know that you mean a lot to us and our hearts. You're in our hearts, and we greatly appreciate you. Apologies to family and friends that wanted to be here in person but couldn't. This has all moved very fast since we got the go on Wednesday afternoon at 12:50. Not that we were tracking the time, but we needed to hand over the leadership mantle to Duke and Dee Dee, and it is time for us to start the next chapter of our lives. We appreciate all of your support through the years and hope that we will get to spend more time together as we move back to Tennessee in the future. Scobes, brother, you and Janice are in our thoughts and prayers. I hope this process goes quickly for you. Please thank Janice for her dedicated service and putting up with all this as you go through this. The rest is really thank yous. As Don Hoffman said on this stage in 2012 in a ceremony like this one, where he handed off the flag to Janet Wolfenbarger at the start of a Corona, it's all about thank yous, because if you didn't listen to me while I was on active duty, why would you listen to me now as I walk out the door as a retiree? So thanks to the team who orchestrated this portion of the event and last night's gathering. Caroline and I will remember it fondly, and it'll live in our hearts. To my 84 classmates, thank you for your service and support. Pretty sure I'm the last one on active duty, and I know none of you thought I'd be standing here, which I didn't either. Mike and Doug in the Guard, thank you for still carrying it. And Christina is still teaching at the Colorado School for Wayward Boys and Girls. You three now carry the 84 Wings to Soar torch. I know you're going to carry it proudly for all of us as we move forward. We have many special friends, and I like to call them all out, but can't. They are classmates from the academy who travel far and wide to be with Caroline and I as we've, as at our marriage, as we pinned on, as we took commands. And I think we finally almost gotten inside the turn circle of them being able to respond as quickly as needed to get somebody here. And then Eddie Baca walked in last night carrying the torch for all the folks. So thank you all for everything and being here at the very last minute and making it happen. We have others who are special friends that go back to when we were at TPS and we made new linkages. And we've met through this journey and we bonded with. Thanks to all of you. There's no way I can say it enough. Just thanks. Thank you to the countless mentors, teachers that we have had along the way. Many of you don't even know the type of impact you've had on our lives and the lessons that you have taught us. They ranged from 4 stars to administrative assistants, lieutenants to chiefs, civic leaders to professional staffers, spouses to elected officials. You, though most likely through your selfless and small acts, shaped Caroline and I into the people that we are today. For those leaders that we've had the privilege to work for, thank you, thank you, thank you. You set a great example, almost all positive, and guided our development. You taught us how to lead. You taught us how to do business. You taught us how to take care of airmen and their families. You taught us how to communicate, communicate, communicate. You taught us how to care. You were patient with someone who was at times way too straightforward. and way too sure of himself, and never shied away from asking very direct questions, sometimes not always at the appropriate time. And someone who often moved out without waiting. You didn't even fire me when I said things like, "Sir, please stop helping me. I've got this problem solved. You just get out of my way." You took care of us. You moved us to the right jobs to develop and prepare us for more command opportunities, which is quite honestly all I've ever wanted to do is be a commander. And we feel blessed to end our career on our 7th command tour with almost 14 years as a commander. This next one is a shout out and a thank you to all airmen. So try to follow me along here. When Caroline and I started this journey, we didn't intend to stay beyond our initial commitment. We were going to leave and go back to Tennessee. But we fell in love with our Air Force and the airmen and what we stood for. We as airmen are bonded to something many others don't understand and they don't have. We know we work for a higher purpose to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies. We have our core values ingrained in all facets of our lives. We are blessed with a special linkage back through all those airmen who have gone before and set the foundation that we build on as we move forward. Where else in the world do you walk out to a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar aircraft and ask a 21-year-old airman if it's ready for me to strap on and go do the mission? And when he or she says yes, you never question it. That's the bond that we all share and that we link. You don't find that surety in nations that are birthing their air forces, or nations like Russia with systemic corruption, where you have no idea if when you're told you're ready, it really means you're ready to go. For those airmen out there, please don't take that for granted. Enjoy it and appreciate the difference that we have and the bond that we have. Growing up in the Air Force, I always heard it's a small Air Force. I disagree. It is a large family. And as a family, we always step in and love on each other when needed. When we suffer losses, when we fight cancer, when we lose loved ones, we have accidents. All of those things bond us together in a way that others don't. When Dad died in May of 2014, I went home to my family in Tennessee to mourn. We had the memorial service, the burial, we told stories, and we celebrated the old man's life. I wasn't in the best place at the end of that week, but I left Tennessee to come to Ohio for Corona. I did that so that I would be with my Air Force family, because it was where I felt comfortable and people would look out and care for me. So to all of you that have loved up on Caroline and I over the last 38 years, thank you. We will miss you more than I can ever put in words. We're comforted to know that we will always remain part of Team Blue. For those airmen still serving, thank you for your service. Today, we remain the world's greatest Air Force. And I leave knowing that you will not let us fall into second place. Chief Bass, I'm almost there. Now for the hard part. Talking about family, or as I have often referred to them, the fandamily. Today, I've said thanks and have been honored by the kind words that you've used, but it's really about Caroline, the boys, and the family. With the Order of the Sword, the retreat, the hose down after my last TDY, the clap out, I pretty much come to closure that I've turned the next chapter But today is really about me being, this ceremony and this right now talking is about me trying to say thank you in some way to them. And there's no way I'll ever do it adequately. Buddy and Junan are here. Buddy is Caroline's brother. On our first date, we actually sat with them at a movie. That wasn't how it was supposedly planned, but when we showed up at the movie theater, we sat together. I'm not sure if that was a trait to make sure that I did not get out of line or do anything else. You all have played a significant role supporting us. Not being in town, they've helped us on multiple fronts in the hometown community, particularly with Bud and Sarah. I'm really glad that you all are here and took the time to travel up. We look forward to getting back into Morristown and seeing more of you all and doing more things together. Got to talk about Caroline's mom and dad, Bud and Sarah. Pretty confident when I showed up on the doorstep on the 16th of March of 1979 for that first date. And we started going steady on the 20th of March, and we haven't been apart since then. I'm pretty sure they did not know I was going to take their daughter away on this journey that took them out of town and moved her all over the world. They really wanted us home, but for the most part, they hid it pretty well. When I got the job as the Air Force Test Center commander, and we informed them, her dad had a moment where the filter wasn't working quite as well. And he immediately said, "I hate this." Because he knew that that meant we were going to serve longer and we weren't going to be coming back home anytime soon. But he quickly recovered and said, "I know you want to serve, and I know this is a great opportunity, and we'll support you." And they have supported us. They came to all of our stations until they just couldn't travel. They rallied around us in times of crisis, like the birth of the boys and Arnie's diabetes diagnosis, when we were kind of struggling and trying to make sure that we were keeping the family unit moving forward, and that I was able to continue to serve and do what the Air Force was asking me to do. Bud passed 2 years ago, and Sarah lives in our hometown. Sarah, we love you, and we look forward to seeing more of you. You all have been great supporters. You've adopted me into the family, and I greatly appreciate that love and support. Scott and Sarah are here. Scott's my cousin. Sarah married into the Bunch family, which she may still question today. They're here carrying the banner for the Bunch family and all the cousins, aunts, uncles, all over for all of our families that weren't able to make it. The family back home has been strong supporters, and they've either paid attention to when I talked about the Air Force, or they feigned paying attention when I talked about the Air Force Duke. They've also given me comfort in other ways. There's never been a day that I walked into the office that I didn't know someone in Tennessee was praying for me, and that they were looking out for us. Scott and Sarah have been tremendous supporters of us, particularly with Kim as mom deteriorated. The level of care they gave mom with visits, cards, deliveries were tremendous burden eaters and alleviated some of the stress on my lovely sister. They're simply great people, and I can never say thank you enough to both of you. I got to talk about mom and dad. They aren't with us in person. Dad passed in 2014. Mom passed in 2020 during COVID. And but I can still feel them with me every day, checking up on me and watching and kind of grading my homework and figuring out if I've done what they would have wanted me to go do. I've always said that if I've ever accomplished anything in the Air Force and you like what I've become, you can go back to my mom and dad, because they set that foundation. Mom and dad got married on my dad's 18th birthday. They had rented an old dairy barn, milk barn, that they put plastic over the windows for $20 a month. And dad then went back to his senior year of high school to finish while mom built radios at the Magnavox plant. blue collar workers who worked 2 jobs and did multiple things to try to make better for Kim and I. And they set a foundation of ethic of work, lessons on how to treat people, and from mom and dad, how to love your spouse and be a family. He adored my mother and she adored him. I grew up in a family that in the 6th grade, I dropped a pass that would have been an easy touchdown interception. And I heard from the sidelines, "Whose darn kid is that?" Only to look over and see it was my father. And he did not use darn. I don't know that he knew that was an actual word at that time. But that's the kind of environment that Kim and I kind of grew up in. They always had more confidence in me than I ever had in myself. At my 2-star promotion ceremony, my dad walked up beside General Wolfenbarger and asked her, "Will you pin on his 3rd star?" I did not know Dad had done this, nor did I ever think that was something that would happen. And I only found out about it when I actually asked General Wolfenbarger to pin on my 3rd star in my hometown back in Tennessee. Mom was a saint, and she was the calm one out of the family. I still don't know how she managed the 3-ring circus that was my sister, my father, and I as we were growing up. Mom and Dad, I love you. I thought that when I hung this up, we would play golf, fish, cards, dominoes when I retired. But I stuck around the Air Force longer than any of us ever envisioned. I pray today that you are proud of what I have been able to accomplish. Kim's my sister. She's my much younger sister and much wiser sister. When I went off to the Air Force Academy, my dad, who is never an individual to express any emotion in public, informed Kim and my mom that when they got to the airport and we got on the airplane, there would be no scene made. We got to the airport and Kim just started bawling. She cried the whole time while we were waiting to get on the airplane. I got on the airplane, they locked the door, and my dad turned to her and said, "Way to hold it together, Kim." Kim is unbelievable. She is one of the most giving and caring people that I've ever met, sometimes beyond what she needs to be, and it wears her out. As I have served, Dad passed and she had to comfort and care for Mom. And as Mom's health deteriorated and her mental state went away, she was the primary caregiver. In the end, because I couldn't get there with COVID and the timeline we had, she was by Mom's side when she passed. Kim, you've carried a heavy burden. Without you carrying that burden, I could not have served in our Air Force and served the nation. I love you and look forward to being neighbors and spending a lot more time with you, Hall, Tyler, Maggie, and Amanda and their families. Now I need to talk about the boys and their families. Lewis and Liz. Liz is a family medicine doctor serving in Murfreesboro. We needed a doctor in the Bunch family, so we did it the only way we thought we could. We went out and married one and brought him in. We're thrilled you're part of the family. We love you very much and are excited to be nearer and spend more time with you and Lewis. Lewis was born at Edwards Air Force Base. They pulled me out of test pilot school. I ran to the, at the time, hospital at Edwards. Watched the Little League World the series on TV with Caroline while she was in labor. She, and I can say this because I'm getting ready to leave, pickled out Lewis. And the next day I was back in TPS class, going through class. And later on, we were able to get them home and her mom showed up to help take care of all of them so that I could continue to do things. Lewis got a master's out of Western Kentucky where he swam collegiately and is doing great now working Vulcan Materials Company. He kept us grounded over the years. As I was a squadron commander, he turned to me in the car one day and said, "Dad, you are a loser," and gave me the big L. Only after we figured out what his version of loser did Arnie and I correct him a little bit and understand that it was actually a good thing that my work cell phone didn't ring all the time. Arnie, Megan, Emmeline, and Mackenzie. Emmeline and Mackenzie. Pop, Pop, and Bam, love you. And we look forward to spending more time with you. And I need to get you on the lake fishing and skiing like Dad did with Arnie and Lewis as they were growing up, and we can have that time together. Megan, who runs MK Designs, and his mom. I wish you could have been here. We talked on the face chat this morning, or whatever it's called. Please know we love you. And looking forward to when you all get settled back nearer and we could spend more time together. Arnie was born at Fairchild. I got pulled off alert, ran to the hospital. She had Arnie, and then they put me back on alert. And when I got off alert, I got to go get her out of the hospital and take her home. Things have changed a little bit, folks, over the years. And I would say change for the better. Arnie's got a master's in industrial engineering, and he is a graduate of the University of Tennessee. He works for the NNSA as a contractor. He's on contract with Los Alamos, New Mexico, but his duties are now going to be in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Much, much closer, and we are so happy. Boys, I'm often asked what my greatest accomplishment has been in my Air Force career, and my answer every time is always you. I know this military gig has not been the easiest, as we have pulled you out of communities and made you make new friends and reestablish yourselves. I also know that your mother and I have made the call a few times to geographically separate for your schooling and stability, which meant I wasn't always there. We've done that for almost 5 years of your all's upbringing so that we could keep you stable and keep you in the right schools. I'm sorry I wasn't always there. I apologize. You all are remarkable. Your mom and I are very proud of the young men that you have become, the way you're growing your families. You're better parents, Arnie and Megan, than your mother and I ever were. And you all are doing remarkable. We are excited to see what you and your families do in the future. And we're excited to be able to spend more time. To you all, thank you for your service and sacrifice so that your mother and I could go chase this. Last but definitely not least, we will talk about the Commander-in-Chief of the House, Mrs. Bunch, Caroline. Most of the time when I'm out talking about her, I always call her Mrs. Bunch, just because that's kind of a go-to that we've built over time. Babe, I'm pretty sure neither of us would have expected to follow this path when we started Going Steady in 1979. You've been with me on this entire journey. Thank you for putting up with me. I know that hasn't been easy. I spent a great deal of time on the spouse appeasement plan for all the things I've forgotten or the upheaval that I have caused. I have polled very low in the dad and the husband of the year polls. If you're a Calvin and Hobbes fan, you know what that means. I spend a great deal of time trying to follow a line in a country song where I know that I married up and she married way, way down. You have been my strongest supporter, cheerleader, and champion. You have had spouses call you and tell you how poor of a leader I was and how I was not treating their spouse fairly. Fortunately, it was only a call and you could not reach her and kill her at that time, but I'm sure you would be out on probation now if you had have. You have been a confidant when I struggled with decisions on multiple fronts. You have let me vent even when you didn't really understand the problem that I was solving or what I was talking about or what was going on. You have been the push at times. As I got out of as I going through pilot training, I was fighter qualified and I asked for fighters and I got a B-52 to Fairchild. And I walked around for 2 days in a depressed state. And you walked by and said, "Hey, dude, that's what the Air Force wants you to go do. Put on your big boy pants and let's get at it." And you kicked me in the rear end to move me out. You have let me chase dreams like test pilot school, where I came home and said, "Hey, they want me to apply for test pilot school with my 3.0002 GPA out of the academy in roads and commodes. There is no way I will ever get in." And you said, "Let's go, let's try it." And that resulted in you moving into the desert, 7 months pregnant, and me not being able to say thank you enough. You have understood that as a strong introvert, there are times after playing the extrovert as a commander all week, I simply need to be left alone. And you've allowed me to do that. You've kept me grounded, ensuring no rank ever mattered when I walked in the door or ever dialogued with you or the family. You made sure that I did not get above my raisin and stayed down to earth. Yes, I have heard, "Don't use that commander voice with me." And yes, I have had the question, did they put powder on your forehead when they were shooting that video so the glare did not blind out the camera? You have allowed me to not worry as much about the house and focus on the Air Force mission. We made the commitment when we were selected for 1 star that we would serve until the Air Force said they didn't need us anymore. We thought that time would have come sooner, and I know it hasn't been easy, but you have steadfastly honored that commitment. We celebrate our 38th anniversary Thursday, and I love you more now than I did when we said I do. We may even celebrate like we did that first night as we drove away on our honeymoon and went through a McDonald's drive-through. And I may even supersize the meal because we've reached retirement. Because you were willing to serve and sacrifice, I was allowed to serve as an Air Force officer. You have actually served more than me, and I can never say thank you enough, babe. There are no words that I can find to adequately show how much I appreciate and I love you. Thank you for your service to the nation. Thank you for your love, support, guidance, and patience. I love you and look forward to this next chapter and whatever it holds. We now are off to Morristown, Tennessee, where she and I went to high school together, started dating, spent our entire growing up developmental years. Most of you know this, but some don't. 11 July, I started as the superintendent of schools for Hamlin County, where we grew up, and try to shape the next generation of Morristown kids as we try to get them ready to be contributing members of society. As we go do that, we will be watching, cheering, and praying for our Air Force, and we look forward to your many future successes. Thank everyone again. You honor us with your presence, and we are very blessed, and we know it. Thank you very much, and God bless.
The men and women of the United States Air Force and Air Force Materiel Command are proud to have served with General Bunch and his wife, Caroline. We extend to General and Mrs. Bunch our very best wishes and continued success as they depart. And we welcome General Richardson and his entire family to the extended Air Force Materiel Command family. Please remain standing for the singing of the first verse of the Air Force song, and then remain in place for the departure of the official party and special guests.
Stop the U.S. Air Force.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. You're invited to join General Richardson for a welcome reception located a few steps away in this hangar in the Research and Development Gallery. We ask that you please remain in place until the distinguished visitors have been departed and the ushers release you. Thank you. Thank you for attending today's special event, and have a great Air Force Day.